Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the discussion today with Colorado State University. I'm really excited to have you all with us today to hear how Colorado State University's campaign leader and her team have developed a really robust communications plan to support their Giving Tuesday campaign. Before we dive in, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. And for those of you who've listened to our other recorded campaign leader discussions, I apologize for being redundant, but we do have some new listeners today, so I'm just going to take a moment to introduce myself and give a little update on Giving Tuesday. So I'm Heather Fields, and I've been working on Giving Tuesday for 4 years. In 2013, I was the quarterback of a Giving Tuesday campaign for the city of Baltimore, which had the goal of raising $1 million. And we had hundreds of nonprofits, as well as foundation leaders and higher ed community leaders here in the city that joined us together in the campaign. And we ultimately raised nearly $6 million. It was a really terrific experience. We learned a lot of lessons. But since that time, I've been sharing the tools that we used for our campaign with other campaign leaders, both nonprofit and higher ed. And for the last 2 years, I've worked on higher ed outreach for 92I, who are the founders of Giving Tuesday. And in this role, I continue to publish free resources, and probably more importantly for you, from this vantage point, I'm able to find some really inspiring campaigns and best practice case studies to bring to this audience. And today we have one of those campaigns and its leader to share with you. And you'll hear how Colorado State University manages their campaign, some of their lessons learned related to communications planning as well. And you'll hear about some free resources that we offer from Giving Tuesday related to communications planning, some workbooks and tools and templates that you'll be able to grab at the end of this discussion. Just a reminder for those of you who haven't been on givingtuesday.org, we actually have a page chock full of free resources. And every month, twice a month actually, we publish new resources for higher ed. Coming soon, we're actually going to have a very specific page for higher ed as well, where you'll be able to easily get right to those sample emails and checklists and toolkits and all kinds of great stuff, as well as these recordings. And just wanted to say, if you have ideas or suggestions for new tools or case studies you'd like us to produce, just let me know. I'll give you my email at the end of this discussion so that you can do that. Just a quick step back through Giving Tuesday, just to give me a couple of minutes here for those of you who are new to the discussions, wanted to give you an update. It's been really exciting to watch Giving Tuesday continue to grow steadily over the last few years. Last year, we actually had 98 countries and territories participate, with millions of people worldwide donating to some amazing organizations and institutions, as well as donating volunteer hours and hosting other really inspiring acts of giving on the day. And we watched 85 community coalitions across the U.S. participating with campaigns. This past week, actually, it's July, I was participating in a conference of some of those community civic leaders from places such as Dallas, and we had people from New York and Boston and Tallahassee and Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and Southern Maryland. And, you know, one thing we were hearing from these folks is that this year, more higher ed leaders are joining with these civic and community leaders to create even bigger impact in their communities. And as you can see from this graphic I'm sharing on screen, the impact is real. This graphic was created from data from Giving Tuesday technology partners, and it shows that Giving Tuesday is continuing to grow as donors are looking for places to engage and give on Giving Tuesday. And we're seeing growth in donations, the number of donors, as well as social media engagement and those acts of generosity that I mentioned earlier. And what we've observed over the 5 years is that organizations who plan ahead to participate on Giving Tuesday are better able to capitalize on this behavior and host successful Giving Tuesday campaigns. Which leads us to today's discussion. I'm really excited to have Thea Rounsaville join us today. Thea is the Assistant Director of Annual Giving at Colorado State University, and she's going to talk about their Rams Against Hunger campaign, which is to serve as emergency food relief for Colorado State University undergraduate students who are experiencing food insecurity. Thea and I were talking just before we started the recording that I've heard from a number of schools who are considering campaigns focused on food insecurity this year, so I think that's really important. So I'm looking forward actually to hearing Thea share how they built their robust communications program to support the campaign. Thea, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate you sharing your campaign planning experience as well as lessons learned and helpful advice. And I'm going to go on mute as I turn it over to you to introduce yourself, just because I know sometimes there's a little bit of feedback and I want our audience to be able to hear you really clearly. So before we dive into some of the questions submitted by the audience, I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about Colorado State University and your role there.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me today. As you mentioned, I work at Colorado State University. We are a land-grant institution located in beautiful Fort Collins, Colorado. Our current on-campus enrollment is a little over 28,000, and we have more than 215,000 alumni. We are a Carnegie Research University and have a lot of really fantastic programs. As for my role, I have been working at CSU for 5 years now, and my focus is on student and young alumni philanthropy, and then I manage our giving days, which target all of our constituents.
Great. Well, at Giving Tuesday, as I said, we have this really great point of view where we get to witness so many wonderful campaigns. I know that across our campaign leaders, you're all very busy with your day job as well as your Giving Tuesday campaign. So from our vantage point, it's exciting to see so many campaigns, and we were really inspired by your campaign. I have some questions that we received from the audience, from my other discussions that I've been doing, and just, day to day I get email from different campaign leaders. So I'd love to just kind of step through those. And as I said, I'll pose the question to you, and then I'll go on mute again just for our audio to make it as crisp as possible for the audience. So really, I think, for our audience, just give us some background. Why and when did you decide to host the Giving Tuesday campaign?
That is a very good question, and I can see why that would be important for schools that are interested in participating in Giving Tuesday. Why should I get involved with this? And I think it's one of probably the best decisions that our shop has made. So we participated in Giving Tuesday for the first time back in 2012, and this is when Giving Tuesday was still brand new, and we weren't quite sure what to expect, and I think a lot of organizations were slowly getting on board across the country, but we knew that it was going to be something exciting and something that would grow over the years, so we were kind of ready just to jump in and see how things went and then evaluate it after that. When we first decided to do Giving Tuesday, we were a little late to the game. We found out about it a couple months ahead of time, so we weren't able to really come up with a super robust plan. So we put together a generic ask for support for the university. We sent it out to all of our constituents, and even with that minimal amount of planning and effort, we were able to see a positive return. So we knew this was a good decision, getting involved with Giving Tuesday, and something that we wanted to continue doing. We were also really excited to follow the progress of other organizations, both higher education institutions and nonprofit groups, and their successes with Giving Tuesday, and sort of inspired us to, go a little bit bigger every year. The other thing that was incentive for us is, like a lot of organizations, we try to make big pushes for end of calendar year giving. A lot of folks are, making some of those last minute gifts in order for, tax purposes, and frankly, it's just the time of giving a lot of times of the year around the holidays, and so we saw this as a neat opportunity to leverage some of that end of calendar year giving, and it's had a lot of success for us.
Great. Well, talk to us a little bit about, it sounds like, it's exciting to know that you've been doing this year over year since year one, so that's great. Tell us a little bit about last year and goal setting. How did you decide to focus your campaign on Rams Against Hunger, and I guess, has that always been the theme of the campaign? So just really interested in goal setting.
So as I mentioned, when we first started participating in Giving Tuesday, we sort of had a kind of shotgun method of having a bit more of a broad ask, and we decided to sort of narrow that down the following year. So we selected a few funds, And again, we saw improvement in our giving numbers, dollars raised. And then the fall of 2014, Rams Against Hunger was created in response to extensive surveying that was done on campus to identify how significant our food insecurity issues were amongst our student population, and then really focus in on the best approach to address it. The program provides nutritious meals from our dining halls to qualified students. And it's been really successful in addressing food insecurity because it provides students with, a variety of meals based on dietary needs. It's anonymous. As you know, food insecurity, there's a lot of stigma that comes with that. Students can eat as much as they want in the dining halls. It's safe for them to access in the evening, during the day. So we knew the program was going to be great, but we needed immediate funding to get it off the ground that fall. The timing was sort of kismet, and we decided to pilot it with Giving Tuesday. I think it's fairly common knowledge that a lot of people are eager to support hunger-related causes around the holidays and the wintertime, and we were hoping to leverage those kind of feelings. With a shorter than usual timeline, we put together a rough marketing plan, threw together some branding, and then we put it out to our constituents. Similar to the very first time we did Giving Tuesday, we had great success with this, despite it being kind of a fast-tracked project. And we knew that going forward from this time on, we were going to feature Rams Against Hunger for Giving Tuesday. And each year it's grown more and more successful than the previous year. So this past Giving Tuesday in 2016, we wanted to try something different. For this particular program, each meal costs $7. So instead of setting a overall dollar goal of what we were trying to achieve, we set a meal goal instead. And our meal goal was intended to really make it tangible for folks to understand that they were making a big impact. The company we work with, community funded, that creates our Giving Day platforms, were able to work with us and adjust their algorithms on the back end so that our Giving Day platform actually tracked all of the gifts that were coming in and counted them based off of meals raised in addition to dollars raised. So that was really neat for us, for donors to be able to make a gift and then automatically see that meal number go up. So by making the appeal around meals instead of dollars, they were able to feel like they were making an immediate and tangible impact no matter what the size of their gift. So if a student only had, $14 to make a gift, that's 2 meals for a student. If someone were able to provide a larger gift, they could provide a week's worth of meals for a student, and just sort of have that instant gratification, if you will, that I think a lot of donors and people are seeking. As far as how we sort of set our goal, we based that really off of what we raised the year before and then increased it by a little bit. We wanted to be realistic, but a bit ambitious. And I think because we had this meal goal instead of a dollar goal, we actually more than doubled what we were seeking in the first place.
Wow, that's great. Did you have any matching funds or challenges as part of your campaign last year?
Last year we did not, but that is going to be a goal of ours this year. I'm actually working with some of our major gift officers that work in the student affairs realm where Rams Against Hunger lives, and we're working on identifying some potential prospects to make a matching gift for us. So we're excited about that.
Okay, that's great. Well, let's shift into the communications planning. One of the things our first-time campaign leaders ask is, what does the communications plan look like to support a Giving Tuesday campaign? When should I start? How many assets am I going to need to create for email and social media? And so I was just curious, what steps did you and your team take to develop your communications plan? And if you want to use last year or the last couple of years as an example, that'd be great.
Definitely. That's kind of a daunting thing when you're starting any type of Giving Day or Giving Tuesday is where do you even start with creating a communications plan? For us last year, our very first step was to work with our graphic designer on sort of creating an overarching visual branding concept. This is going to kind of set the tone for what the rest of our pieces are going to look like, and then figuring out our segmentation and who's going to be receiving what. So a lot of people don't necessarily know that hunger is a real issue on our campus. And so our goal was to illustrate that through the use of imagery. This last year, we had a set of core images that were used throughout our pieces. As you saw in the previous slide, we had a pair of hands that were holding an empty bowl. We had a mittened hand holding out some change. We had a series of 9 plates of food and then 1 empty plate to signify the impact of hunger as it correlates to our campus, where 1 out of 10 students at CSU is struggling with hunger. And then in turn, we also use that for our thank you, as you can see in our thank you postcard, where there's a message on that empty plate. So all of these images were created to pull at your heartstrings, but not be too jarring. We're very realistic. We understand that hunger on a campus here in America is very different than, a child that's starving in a third world country. So we wanted to be very intentional about what our images were saying and the optics, where we didn't want people to have any sort of misunderstanding about what we were saying. So this is to get people to have some feelings and really understand that this is an issue and what they can do to help. The other image you can see there is that we have just very blatantly called out that we had 180 students on our waiting list at the time. So this is where we started with our communications planning. What is this visual, what's the concept and the brand going to be this year? And then once we figured out what that was going to look like, we designated what our segments were that we wanted to focus on, and then we created a drop date calendar of pieces based on the segment. I've been managing giving days for several years now, and I found that it's really helpful to sort of work backwards as far as when you want your communication pieces to drop to particular audiences, and then build a time frame of what is needed to get that accomplished, working backwards. So as an example, faculty and staff at CSU are one of the key groups that we target for Giving Tuesday. They receive a save the date postcard in addition to an email. We don't have the budget to send something in the mail to all of our constituents, but because campus mail is free, we're able to print and send postcards to faculty and staff for a reduced rate. So I certainly recommend to anyone working on planning to really think about the types of resources that you have available to you that can be a little bit budget friendly, easier to access, and try to weave those into your plan. So one of the minor challenges that we do have with marketing for Giving Tuesday, and I'm sure other higher education institutions share this as well, is overcoming that Thanksgiving break drop-off. Our students are gone for the entire week before Giving Tuesday, and a lot of our faculty and staff members are taking additional time off as well. So taking that into consideration, we needed to try to find a balance of providing enough education and an excitement in the time leading up to Thanksgiving break, but not start too early to the point where it becomes white noise. We built a plan for our campus constituents, so our students and faculty and staff, that includes staggered on-campus marketing like posters, digital signage, table tents, newspaper ads, in addition to our advancing email and digital communication that builds up to Giving Tuesday. When we're talking about our alumni, folks that are away from campus, that plan looks a little bit different, again, because we're focusing primarily on email and digital resources, social media, a little bit of phone-a-thon. So I think considering who you're talking to and how the message is going to have the biggest impact, and then working on which pieces are necessary for them, and again, kind of going backwards is really helpful. Once we were able to segment everyone out, then we built our communications plan and determine working with our graphic designer, what type of specialized assets do we need for this? When does it need to get printed by? When do we need to turn in, our posters by? All of those kind of things. So definitely, as I said before, working backwards is very helpful.
That's great. Just to get tactical for our audience, we're recording this in July, so for those who are listening sort of in real time, if you will, on the just wanted to for your drop calendar. So for the on-campus items, posters, signs, table tents, that sort of thing, when do you start putting those out?
So as far as when they drop, we usually we start the first week of November. And that's when we're working on getting our platform live, getting that ready to go. And then we have some posters that are going out. And then the following week, we start doing our digital signage. And then we're getting into the week right before that Thanksgiving break. And that's usually when we have our table tents hitting and our faculty and staff postcards.
Okay, great. And then for your alumni too, just to help our audience. So you're doing email out to your alumni and some social media. Is that when do you start that?
Yep. So they are treated a little bit differently. So our overall messaging, as far as the types of points when we want our audiences to know information, is the same regardless of who they are. So as an example, when we're 3 weeks out, that's when we have our save the date, and that's a very general piece of information. We don't want to put too much in there because we know that people aren't going to remember it. That's just sort of how attention spans work. We all know that. So that is focused more on kind of heavy imagery, and everyone receives that then. And so the piece that goes out to our alumni in email does mirror what our on-campus constituents are receiving. And then that following week is when we provide a bit more information about what is Ramps Against Hunger, what is Giving Tuesday, what is our goal. Again, not too heavy. We don't want to overwhelm people, but just sort of give them a taste of, oh, this is what that save the date was for. And then the following week, the communication is, okay, this is our call to action. In 2 weeks, we are going to need everyone to make a gift of X amount of dollars, which equals this many meals. Here's the website where you can do it. And that goes out in email communication to all of our audiences. But some of the messaging is tweaked a little bit. So as an example, when we're emailing our young alumni, we will add in a smaller ask amount than we would typically for, say, our more established alumni. Folks that are for our student population, we want to also encourage them to participate by donating their time as well to volunteer at the local food bank or drop off canned goods in addition, because we know that not every student has the resources to make a donation.
Oh, that's great. I love how thoughtful your communications plan is across all those segments. It's really, thank you for sharing, and that's great for our audience too to think similarly. So what role does social media play in your campaign? I'm just curious, like, how important is it? And then also for some of our campaign leaders who are interested in, how effective video is. I'm curious if you could speak to that, because video is one of those things too that takes some planning in advance, but seems to be growing and it's important.
That's definitely a good question, and that is part of our communication plan that we have overall. We treat it a little bit differently. The folks that run our social media channels, our primary university channels, they don't work in development, so they work in another office. So that's a partnership that we have with them, but we don't necessarily have as much control over what and how frequently they're able to post. Thankfully, they are big supporters of ours, so they are able to build it into their calendar of posting. When we have those first initial meetings with our graphic designer and we're creating a list of all of our assets that we're going to need, we definitely include social media specifically created things. So, for example, an image like the Adulting is Hard that is for Instagram specifically. And that gets sent out to our social media partners, our social media managers, and all of our colleges and units across the university. We also have a platform that we're using right now called Social Toaster, and that is for managing our social media ambassador program called Social Rams. And how Social Rams works in general is once a week we send out content to all of our ambassadors and ask them to share it onto their networks, and they receive points for doing so and then can win prizes at the end of the month. The content can range from, groundbreaking research that we're doing to a photo of puppies on campus. That's just really cute. So it's a little bit different of what they get weekly, and we try to mix it up. But when it comes time to prepare for our Giving Days and Giving Tuesday, we really harness the power of their networks and use that to get our message out to even broader audiences. The Save the Date images that I had mentioned earlier, we push that out to our social media ambassadors about 3 weeks ahead of time from Giving Tuesday and ask them to push that out. And then we have another image that talks a bit more about the impact of the meals and what the program does. And then on the day of is when we're really hitting them hard and asking them to post, a couple times where they talk about how close we are to our goal. Same thing as we get closer to Giving Tuesday with the rest of our information that we're disseminating. We send out a reminder email to all of our constituents that Sunday before, let them know, hey, Giving Tuesday is right around the corner, don't forget about it. Send another email on Monday, tomorrow is the day, here's our goal. And then on Tuesday, folks will receive 3 messages. The first one is our kickoff. The second one is an update on our progress. And the third one is another update on our progress and results, which happened to be this last year in 2016. Our second email was like, well, we hit our goal because you guys are amazing. So here's the new goal. And then sure enough, when it came time for the third email, we had reached that goal. And so we asked them to just keep giving. And so you have to be able to pivot easily, I would say, when it comes close, because you never know how you are going to stand when it comes to reaching your goal. The video that you had mentioned is something that is done pretty early ahead of time. As I mentioned, our Giving Day platform goes live during the first week of November, and that's mainly just to have it available to direct people there. We want to do testing, make sure it's all ready to go and accept gifts. And then when we start dropping our print information, even just the posters on campus, we need to have a place to direct people to go to. So that site is up. That's the first thing, and that's where our video lives. The videos, I think a lot of people feel very overwhelmed by the idea of making them. It's kind of a scary concept for some people that are new to this thing. It certainly was for me. But it's so easy to make great videos nowadays. You can film something on your phone, and it's good quality. I would also encourage people to take advantage of any student workers they have that may just have keen talent for this. So we actually had a student intern on our team be the primary person to create our video. So if you watch the video, it's basically a slideshow of all of these plates of really delicious looking food, which my graphic designer and I actually went to the dining halls and we ended up eating all of that food ourselves. So sometimes you got to do some stuff for the sake of the marketing, but we have all these images of really good looking food, and then it comes to the last slide where it says empty plate, and you just feel sad for whoever doesn't have access to the food. So the video, it's maybe like 30 seconds. It's not very long. It's not very complicated, but it gets our message. It makes you feel something and encourages you to make a gift to hit our goal. So all of this is done really early on. I would say probably we did that in late August. we have all of the rest of our materials sort of staggered as far as when they're completed based off of when we need to turn them in. So again, that video was first, so that's what we had done. The other thing that I think is very important to consider that we have as part of our communication plan is stewardship. How are you going to thank all of these people after they've made a gift for you? One of the programs that we have is called Thank You, and it's this neat video messaging company where you can upload a short video and send it in a specialized envelope, and it goes out to as many people as you want. So it could be, 100,000 people are receiving this, and because it's all through their platform, it's not taking up a lot of space or memory. So we created this thank you video for everyone that gave on Giving Tuesday, and within 24 to 48 hours after someone made a gift, they would receive this video. In addition, we also had several postcards pre-printed, as you can see from the image here, and we had students on campus writing handwritten thank you notes to donors. So every single donor that made a gift received a handwritten postcard from a student, and that was sent out within a week of Giving Tuesday. And again, all of those things were printed well ahead of time and ready to go for that day so that we could drop it in the mail as soon as possible and make sure that our donors knew that we really appreciated them. The last thing I would touch on as far as some of that communication pieces and stewardship is that we had also created a infographic with our results ahead of time again. So we had placeholders for all of our results. The next day on Wednesday, our graphic designer plopped in the numbers and it was ready to go. We sent that out on our social media channels through our Social Rams social media ambassador program. We sent it out in email, and then we posted it on our Giving Day platform as well.
That's great. Yeah, the stewardship piece is so vital. So this is really helpful, I think, for our audience. I had a question for you on the Thank View platform. That sounds really great. You said you send that email out. You send it via email. Do you also push those out in any other channels, or is it's really unique to just donors, I guess? So it just goes specifically to each donor one by email. Is that correct? Did I understand correctly?
That is correct. So the way the platform works is that after, we upload a spreadsheet out all the donor information, and when you receive it in your email, it has an envelope that opens up. So it would say, Dear Thea, thank you so much for making a gift on Giving Tuesday. This is the impact that you had, and then it transitions over to the video where you can watch the video, and then you can share that with others by forwarding it, and you can also share it on your own social media channel.
Okay, great. Wow, that's great. I love hearing about new tools, and I've heard about Social Toaster from some of our other campaign leaders too. So shifting to this year, it's 2017 campaign season, and just wanted to see if you could share with our audience, like, where are you and your team with your 2017 planning?
It's kind of crazy to think it's July and it's Giving Tuesday seems so far away, but it is indeed time to start planning for it. And I would say definitely it feels unintuitive, but the earlier you can get a start on planning, the easier it will be for yourself when you get close to that day. So the conversations we're having right now, as I mentioned earlier, we are trying to get a major gift to be a matching component for our Giving Tuesday this year. So we're working on identifying some prospects, some folks that have given to Rams Against Hunger before, so they have an affinity for the program and also have the capacity to sort of step up and make a gift for that. We are also going to, probably in a month or so, start developing again that overall concept branding, and that's going to be influenced by this matching gift that we will hopefully have.
Okay, great. All right, great. Well, we have a couple other questions. I think you've covered most of these. You've talked about some of the things you're considering adding to the program this year. Before we wrap up, I always like to just kind of throw out there, if you have any examples of kind of missed opportunities from previous years or your biggest surprise or any aha moments, with your campaign, maybe even over the last couple of years that you can think of that you'd want to share with some of our folks listening in that might be new campaign leaders? Anything come to mind?
I would say just for folks that are brand new to this, it can seem a little overwhelming or possibly intimidating, but just go for it. Anything that you do the first year, you're going to learn from it, and it's hopefully going to have a positive effect on your donors and the funds that you're raising money for, and you're going to learn lessons from it and be able to apply it the next year. The other biggest thing I would say is just really try to figure out how you can translate impact for your donors and why they should make a gift and what that's going to do for your fund or for your institution. Those donors want to feel like they're making an impact, and if you can articulate that in a way that's meaningful, it's going to help you be successful on Giving Tuesday.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing all of the advice. I don't have it on screen, but I know that you and I talked before we started the recording that you said you'd gladly take any questions from the peers that you have listening to this recording if they have any questions for you. What's the best way for them to reach out to you? LinkedIn or your email? If you could just tell us.
Yeah, email is fantastic. My email is thea.rounsaville@colostate.edu. So you can see my name on there. That's COLO state.edu. I'm also on LinkedIn as well and happy to receive messages that way. Anything I can share for others, I'm more than happy to. I've received that from folks when I was at the beginning of this, so definitely love to learn from others too.
Great. Not to put any pressure on you, but if you have the drop date calendar in a form that you might be able to share it, that sounds like a really amazing tool you've created. I don't know if it's something that you could share, if it's in a spreadsheet or something, but that sounds cool.
It is a spreadsheet, and it's probably not super beautiful, but I'm more than happy to share it.
Okay, well, I'll follow up with you afterward if that's something, I could get that and put it out through our email that we send twice a month. That would be really great, and I appreciate your generosity, spirit of generosity there. I'm just going to flip to the last slide here for the presentation and just make note, too, that if you have any questions for me or for the Giving Tuesday folks, or as I mentioned earlier, if there are other topics or campaign leaders you'd like to hear from, please send me an email. I have it on screen there. I'm also on LinkedIn, and you can get me through the Giving Tuesday social media channels as well. We would love to bring you some additional advice and tips and tricks and lessons learned from our vantage point. That's what we're here for. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me as well. So Thea, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And good luck with your campaign this year.
Thank you so much.
Have a great afternoon, everybody. Bye-bye now.